What?
Gobsmacked.
What? Excuse me? Oh my god.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm coping. It's
Okay.
December and I'm struggling, but I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm also coping. I've
Mm,
on 3 weeks of this cough and it's like not relenting at all. So, um at this point, it's at the stage where it's just annoying to everyone involved.
right. Oh.
Like at first, you have the sympathy like, "Oh, you sound so unwell." But
Mm.
now it's like, "Would you just stop coughing? Please." It's mostly me saying that to myself,
Mm.
but I know I would be feeling that way if someone else in my family sounded like I did for as long as I have, so we're just assuming that everyone is equally as annoyed.
Probably the cat.
Oh, yeah. She really doesn't like it. Especially she's on my lap and I'm like, "Ugh," dying. She's like, "Which could you stop?" Like, yeah, so
Oh, dear.
we are the Belladonna Watch Club. Come get cozy with us while we dig into iconic shows and movies that one of us has never seen before. I'm Lisa. I've seen the Gilmore Girls.
And I'm Jenny, and I'm the fresh eyes.
I was thinking earlier that I can't remember the last time that I watched a show one episode a week, like we're doing right now.
It's really hard.
It
It's
is
really
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
I've just become a binge watcher, even of shows I've seen, especially of shows I've seen before. I just like three at a time, you know.
Mhm.
Boom, boom, boom.
Mhm. Yeah. So this week it's episode 6 of season 1.
Mm.
This episode is called Rory's Birthday Parties, in which Rory's turning, I think she's turning 17, and Lorelai tries to get out of Friday night dinner to have Rory's birthday party at their house so that they can come the next night. Emily holds firm about
Mm.
Friday nights being her night. Come hell or high water, they would need to be like in some sort of inquisition for Emily to let go of Friday night dinners. And then she decides to throw Rory her own birthday party at their house, Gilmore style, while Rory and Lorelai move their classic Stars Hollow style birthday party to Saturday night.
Hmm.
Tell me what you thought.
I really loved this episode. I mean, I'm only at episode 6 of the first season, but I really loved it, and it also kind of broke my heart a few times. But it was so touching. We got so much, not just insight, but we got so deep into the relationships and the personalities and the history of Lorelai and her mother Emily, and we see a lot of Rory, and we just get such mature writing and such brilliant performances all the way through this whole thing. Scattered, of course, with just absolutely charming, really sweet moments and funny moments.
Of
Yeah, I
course.
loved this episode. Loved it.
Yeah, I would say this is one of my favorite episodes because you get a full blast of Gilmore life and then you get a full blast of Gilmore Jr. life.
The Rorys, the
Yeah,
Loreleis.
the Lorelai's life, exactly. So at the beginning of the episode, we find out that, they're gonna be throwing a birthday party for Rory, they being Emily and, I mean, by extension, Richard, but he's not involved in any of it. And you could tell that Rory didn't really want to do anything for her birthday with them. Like, she's the one that's actually about to broach the subject at the beginning when
Mm.
Lorelai ends up asking to move Friday night dinner. Rory starts, she's with it, and her mom's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take the reins on this," because she doesn't want Emily kinda, like, having to reject Rory or, like, have that difficult conversation with Rory.
Mm.
Lorelai's like, "I'm the punching bag. I'll do it."
Trust me, I know
Um,
how this goes. I know how this goes.
and you could tell that, like, she doesn't really want to do her birthday there.
So yeah, the episode opens at dinner, one of the
Mhm.
Friday night dinners, and first of all,
Oh, yeah, the Post-its.
uh, this yeah, this practice of labeling things with post-its, things that you want given to you in a person's will. So Emily encourages Rory and Lorelai, I suppose, to go around the house and claim what they would like. And Emily is totally cool with this. Like, of course, this is a thing. I think Rory is pretty weirded out, but she doesn't say so. Lorelai is definitely weirded out. And at this dinner, I think probably the biggest takeaway from this dinner is that she serves for dessert pudding,
Ah, the
which,
symbolic pudding.
yes, which only seems to be a symbol for Lorelai. No one else gives a damn about it, really. No one even comments on it. But for Lorelai, this is a big, huge
Mhm.
occasion.
Yeah, like, she might as
And
well have served Pop-Tarts or fruit by the foot or something, you know? Like, it's just a very, like, childish dish,
Mhm,
I guess, which
mhm.
is, like, exactly, Lorelai's deal and Rory's deal, like, they're
But
both
served
teenagers,
in
essentially.
crystal bowls.
Of course. But yes, the very important pudding. I
Mhm.
love with the Post-it thing how as Emily is explaining what this is, Richard doesn't think it's creepy. He's there on the other end of the table, like, encouraging nods. He's like, "Oh, yeah, like, we're doing a really
Yes,
good
of
thing
course.
right
You
now."
should
Like,
have what you want.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's super into it, which made me laugh because, with the golf episode, Richard's like, "Emily, like, this is not cool, man." Like, but here he's like, "Well, this is a perfectly reasonable activity for everybody to be doing." My favorite line from that whole Post-it moment was when Emily is like, "What are you doing in here?" Like, blah, blah, blah. She's like, "Well, we're just getting ready for the big day, mom." Put it
As they often do, Lorelai and Emily dominate this scene. And they really, really show us that they understand each other very, very well. They know certain things about each other very, very well. And they understand how the other kind of maneuvers, but to the point where like they can jab at each other in all the right places.
Yeah,
And that it only allows for them to do that because as we learn by the end of this episode, and the big thing of this episode is Emily revealing, I don't know my daughter at all. But they do know each other very, very well, but they don't. They
that's it.
know
They know about each
things.
other's characters, but not about their
Mm,
lives.
mm.
Like, there's that
They know
disconnect
like
there.
specific versions of each other, just in the
Yeah.
same way that like I'm your mother and I've changed your diaper and I know how you react to being stung by a bee or like, all of these things. But it's been so long, and when you're between 16 and 30 whatever 33 I suppose, that's a whole other lifetime and you become a whole new person. And so the versions that they know of each other are past, but they're still stuck in each other's brain, I think, as those old versions.
Yeah, well, they use each other's knowledge, like you were saying, to kinda, like, get jabs at one another. Like, they use it against each other. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. As opposed to using the knowledge to kind of manage the relationship,
Yeah.
they actually use it they, like, pit each other against one another using that
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. But we do get post-pudding, we get another bit of an olive branch where Emily shows some vulnerability by asking for help picking out a birthday present for Rory, and I have a clip here, and it might be hard for our listeners to see because the expression in here is really important, but you could hear it in Emily's voice as well. The
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability and the surprise.
You might let me into your secret club just this one time and help me buy her something for her birthday.
You're serious?
According to you, I'm always serious.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Well, good. I'll meet you at Damien's tomorrow at 3.
Okay.
And dress appropriate.
So, finish that sentence, Mom.
That just she's like, Okay, like, really? You're gonna help me?" And then the fact that she put herself out there at all and wanted to make the effort
Well, she
is
almost
so
gets a smile on her face. It's
yeah,
wonderful.
she's pleased and
Yeah.
surprised, and she doesn't approach it with, like, she doesn't resent having to ask Lorelai for her help or anything, like, she just genuinely is like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this," and I wonder how much, like, courage it took her to actually pick up the phone and make that call,
Yeah, definitely.
and then Lorelai is like, "Wait, what? You mean it? Okay, sure."
And she's stoked for it as well. She's getting smiles on her face. It's so I found it very, very weird, but I went with it. Like at first it was kind of jarring that like they're getting along. What? You know, just hints at getting along.
Yeah, so they go to the store, and Emily is picking out all of these very elderly things for her, like the hat rack. Lorelai's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, okay, you can give that to her when she's the Queen of England."
Yeah.
Emily says, "You're being very combative today." And Lorelai's just like, "Yeah, hats do that to me," or something like to that effect,
Mhm. Mhm.
which I thought was hilarious. And yeah, and so Emily's just like not putting herself in the shoes of a 16-year-old at all. And she's brushing off all of Lorelai's suggestions, which by the way, that guitar purse was so cool. But not
It's so
Rory
cool,
either, I
but
feel.
no, exactly. I actually, in an earlier scene, we see what Rory's wearing, and so far we haven't really had many examples of Rory dressing in like her own style because she's
Mm,
either in her uniform or she's dressed up for dinner, right?
mm.
And I really wonder, it just got me thinking, what is her style? How would she style herself and what kind of accessories would she wear? And she definitely would not, I don't think, carry that purse, which I was just watching earlier has a label on it. It's a Moschino purse.
Oh, very fancy.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah, I know,
fancy.
right? Mhm.
I think Lane would use that purse. Lane would, like, have the purse and hide it
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah. Oh,
So,
absolutely.
you know, in the sense where 2 friends can have a similar taste, sure, but that's more
Yeah,
of a Lane purse than a Rory purse, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, even the bracelets
Oh,
that they do end up picking, I feel aren't very Rory
no.
either.
No, I don't think so.
We just see her in a lot of softer colors, I think. Even when she has
Yeah.
chosen her own clothes, they seem to be kind of like knits and textures and cozier, and these
Yeah.
bracelets are glass beads and vibrant, and
Apparently
yeah,
they light up. According to Emily in that scene. What? Okay.
yeah,
Just
that's
before we
pretty.
keep going on,
Mhm.
I want to mention the last bit that we get of the Friday night dinner. Clearly, so Lorelai knows what Rory's in for with this Emily run birthday party. She doesn't yet see trouble ahead, and so when they get in the car to head home, she just gives this great lightening of the mood. This great run-on joke that she just keeps going and she just pushes it and she's having a blast describing what the party's going to be like. So, Rory doesn't know what to expect and she's saying, it's not going to be a big deal, will it?
So, is this party Grandma's having gonna be a big deal?
Not really. The government will close that day. Flags will fly at half-mast. Barbara Streisand will give her final concert, again.
Uh-huh.
Now, the Pope has previous plans, but he's trying to get out of them. However, Elvis and Jim Morrison are coming, and they're bringing chips.
You ask a simple question.
Something great in this show is that like there are so many jokes and so many witty lines, but they're basically all delivered without the expectation of a reaction or of a response. Just about all of the characters, they know that they're funny and they get it out and they'll keep going, but we don't need someone to like people rarely laugh at their own jokes in this
Hmm.
show. And it just lends this great sort of casual feel to the show and I love it.
And there's no, like, big dramatic pause for the laugh track. They're just funny in their everyday dialogue without it needing to be, like, a punchline.
Mhm.
It's fantastic, and the way that Lorelai just knows how to beat a dead horse on a joke is
Yep.
admirable. And I know, it drives her mother crazy and her daughter.
Oh, yeah, suggesting that she would buy Rory a bong for her birthday.
I loved that. You're like, "Lorelai."
Yeah, so by the end of this shopping scene, just by Lorelai's behaviors and shifts in behavior, I'm getting the impression that this sort of time spent with her mom, it must mean a great deal to her. Not just the time spent, but seeing her mom invest any kind of time and accept any kind of input. It's visible in Lorelai that this is meaningful to her.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it. That she's asking for the input, that she's paying attention, that she's listening, that she's valuing her opinion and her any of her just thoughts, words,
mm,
like the fact that she's
mhm,
invested at all is really important to her.
mm.
And in the previous episodes, we haven't really noticed how much she craves that until here.
Yeah, we already saw a little bit that, she's felt she was missing out on her dad, on Richard, but we wouldn't have expected the same sort of thing regarding Emily.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think Rory, well, obviously, Rory does not fully understand what this party is going to entail. And as much as Lorelai's joke was fun and witty, she should have fully prepared Rory for what this party was going to be. Like, who was going
I
to be
agree.
invited, what the vibe overall was going to be, like almost black tie, servers with trays, all of these old people, her classmates, yada yada, because she gets to school and she sees that all of the Chilton kids in her class have been invited to her birthday and nobody really
As
knows who
review
she is.
as revealed by Tristan of all
Blech.
people. These invitations look almost handwritten. I don't think they are, but
No, I don't
I
think they
paused
are.
I paused the screen and they look like they've been written like someone's held a ruler and they've just sort of like
Right?
written over
Such an
top.
awkward font.
Yeah.
I've I've taken a screenshot so I could read out how horrible this invitation is. So imagine you're 17, you don't like anybody at your school, and they receive an invitation to your birthday that goes on the morning of October 8th at 4:03 in the morning. Emily and Richard Gilmore were blessed with a perfect baby granddaughter, Lorelai Lee. Please join us this Friday to celebrate this joyous occasion. 7 o'clock, black tie, optional.
Oh, Jesus.
You're 17. That's horrible. And it has this like crepe paper, like fancy layer on it. Tristan is like being so creepy about the party. Like, can't wait, happy birthday. Can't wait to see you there. Like, bleh.
And then, or one of the other students, she makes it clear that she's got it as well, and she says another obligation party. So like, all of these kids must get invited to parties like this, and it didn't occur to me until watching it again today that like this must suck for those
Mhm.
kids.
Mhm.
Like, how many parties, how many like formal events and things do they have to attend? I mean, you got to have a little bit of empathy for for fellow teenagers as much as they might be bullies and rude, but like, oh.
And that's why, like, Lorelai hated it because I guarantee it was like everyone in her class, they all got an invitation like that because everybody's rich parents use it to one up one another. And you want to rub elbows. Is it rub shoulders or rub elbows? Rubbing arm pieces.
Smacking wrists, butting heads, hip bumping.
Flailing fingers with other rich people, like networking. Basically, they're using it to like show off a network with
Yeah.
one another because there's like the shop talk that Richard's doing, and it's horrible. Horrible. So yeah, all of her classmates are like complaining about how like, who is this person? My mom is making me go another obligation party, and then Tristan is being like so creepy about it. And
Ugh.
Rory is just mortified. Mortified. And this is where we see the Emily that Lorelai ran away from. This
Mhm.
whole situation. Post shopping, Lorelai goes to Luke's and she's waiting for Rory. And I love their dynamic here. I love their exchange because she walks in and Luke immediately knows who she's looking for. And then they have this like kind of steamy almost moment with the chemistry and the sparks.
She's not here yet.
All right. Well, you'll have to entertain me until she arrives. Okay, Burger Boy, dance.
Will you marry me?
What?
Just looking for something to shut you up.
What?
Gobsmacked.
What? Excuse me? Oh my god.
And
Yeah.
the way that she was like she was taken aback because it wasn't like it's like a joke, but she was like,
He
but it's
doesn't
somebody
joke
that I'm
like that.
attracted to? No,
Like,
and it was
this
so
is
blunt.
so. Yeah. Like, excuse me? It was because he does not have his joke tone, does he? They do.
That is
They
his
have like,
tone. That's just
yeah,
like his always tone.
it's his always tone. He
Yeah.
has no distinction. So like, I was floored. I think I actually had to like turn the TV off.
Like, huh?
Stunned. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that she's like obviously not into it because that's like a really big question, and they're not dating and whatever. But she's like a little bit flustered by it because she's like attractive man who is attractive is saying what now? And then
Well,
he
and
pauses.
she's used to giving out the sort of the flirtatious lines,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's it, dance monkey boy or something?
Burger boy. Dance
Burger
burger
boy.
boy.
Yeah. And you're gonna have to entertain me. Like it's cute, it's flirtatious, that's what she
Mhm.
does, as you've very well described. But she's not used to getting it back. Not from him. So like, huh? I've just been fed with my own medicine, my own flirtatious medicine. What?
I love it. I
Mhm.
love it. And then so they're there and they're talking, and Lorelai is so excited and happy about the shopping trip that she had with Emily. And she even let Emily pick dresses for them, which
Mhm.
they alter. And then Emily gets all mad because she's like, I thought there was more of it. Rory doesn't want to tell Lorelai about the invitations and how horrible it is and how mortified she is, which I
It's not
get because
obvious though. It's not obvious straight away. It's just that she's just not telling her. And so I'm kind of like, "Oh, why isn't she saying anything?" Yeah, she just sort of fails to mention what happened with the invitations and things. She just is telling her, "Well, I had a
oh,
crappy
interesting.
day and it sucks." Because to me, it wasn't obvious. I was kind of thinking, is there something behind her?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw the, like, calculations happening
Mm.
as, like, because I think she was ready to tell her right away because she was like, "My day sucked," like, "You'll b" and then Lorelai gets into, like, how awesome her day was, and then I feel Rory,
Mm.
like, take a step back, like, "I can't possibly
Mm.
say this about Emily now because Emily's the reason I had a bad day." The next morning, it's Rory's birthday, and they go to Luke's diner, and I just love this exchange between Rory and Luke so much.
School today. Have to. Latin test.
Jeez, every day you have a test. When do you have time to learn anything to be tested on?
Hey, wrong table.
Since when is there a right table?
Since the coffee cake I baked for you and the stupid balloons I blew up are at that table over there.
You blew up balloons for me?
Yep.
Aw, Luke, you old softy.
I count to 3, it's gone.
Thank you.
So
Oh, Luke.
sweet. It's so sweet. He didn't just like go and get a cake and, or like a cupcake or whatever. No, a coffee cake, coffee cake
Coffee cake.
that he made for her. And like, I love that his face this entire time is just like disgruntled. Like, I went out of my way to do this. But it's no like, you better appreciate it. Instead, it's just how he delivered it.
Yeah, like, he's just
And
grumpy about it, but he's not actually grumpy about it.
no, absolutely not. He's just, he's not gonna make a big deal about it at all. No. But we see a little bit later, he wrote on the balloons. He literally
Yeah.
wrote "Happy Birthday, Rory" on the balloon. It's so sweet.
He's so sweet. And I like that Rory just, like, doesn't react. She's like, "What do you mean? What do you mean wrong table?" Like, she just, like, gives it right back to him. She has a bit of attitude in her response too, which I think is funny because, an adult telling you what to do and you're like, "Oh, wait, what? What do you mean?" Like, "Ugh, none of that." And she
Mhm.
doesn't care that he's, like, barking at her about her stupid balloons or whatever, and she's like, "No, ooh."
There's a nice like give and take there between them. It's good.
Yeah, and, like, he cares about her so much,
Mhm.
and, like, he wouldn't do that for just anybody.
First thing, Rory's birthday. She gets woken up
Oh,
at
yes.
4:03. A
Of course.
4:03 wake up with the fuzzy alarm clock, the pink
Mhm.
fuzzy alarm clock. She just lets Lorelai indulge in recounting the minutes, the by the minute story that she knows, off by heart by now of exactly where she was 17 years ago today. And she was in this position and she was, given birth. And she just, Lorelai tells it in the most beautiful storybook way and charming and sweet. But of course, she tells the story of labor
Yeah.
and how wonderful and magical it is and blah, blah. But they have a really, really genuinely sweet interaction and a moment of like, I think you're gonna do great things and you're such a great kid and you're the best friend I could have. And like as much as Lorelai really, goes over the top sometimes and she's very sarcastic and they joke around a lot, still their moments of love and their moments of like friendship and partnership are just so true and so real and heartfelt. And it just, oh, they're so good. They're so good.
I really love
Mhm.
that Rory indulges her in that
Yeah.
tradition because, a 17-year-old wants her sleep. She has to get up to go to school and,
It's putting 4 o'clock in the morning.
and she's like, Mom, like, don't do this. Like, I'm tired. I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
But that sort of friendship is just like relationship goals.
Mhm.
I don't know how realistic it is because it's TV, but
Yeah.
it's just so sweet and tender and respectful and nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and
That
you're
scene
right.
is so
There's
much
there's
fun.
there's such friendship there, as well as mother daughter, but the friendship there is just so important. Um, right, and so before Rory even gets to school that day, before she when she started digging in to the coffee cake, um, this is very embarrassing with Lane, she spots or discreet a very discreet eye exchange, silent exchange with Dean, who
Mhm.
pops in, shows up in Luke's diner, and Luke, as always, is very straight about it. I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he's seen them walking about together. I don't know, but you know, gets a coffee to go and gets a cue from the balloons and cake and such, and just as Rory would want, I think. He doesn't make a big deal out of it, but he mouths the words "Happy Birthday" on his way out, and you can tell that she just gets this smile on her face. That's that's the amount of recognition she wants. That's all. She doesn't
Yep.
need, "Oh, hey, I got a big invitation to your birthday party and look at that. The whole school knows," and blah blah blah. Like, no. Yeah, nicely done, Dean. Don't draw attention to it. Just, offer the sentiment and that's it. And then he's on his way. It's great.
Yeah, the door opens and Dean comes in, and you get this immediate like, "Ooh, fun. Okay, there he is again." Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
the way they do it, and it's literally just him walking into the diner, but I wrote down, my eyes lit up. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, yay,
Well,
Dean is
we
here."
get a nice musical cue as well. Just like
Yeah.
there's suddenly like a little kind of and then a bit of strumming, and you're like, "Ooh, okay."
Dean
There's a whole
here.
tonal shift.
Amazing.
He's growing on me, I have to admit. I wasn't so sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I'm just gonna
Leaving it there.
So we get to the Gilmore's house and Emily is in an absolute tizzy trying to get this party, and you could tell she cares so much about this party and she wants everything to go well, but she's also horrifying. She's like drill sergeant Emily, and you can tell she's really anxious and really frazzled because she's like barking at people for no reason. Like,
Why are you touching that? Why are you touching that? Well, don't. I want those 6 inches apart. Get a ruler.
Emily,
like she doesn't give a chance for anyone to answer or explain or do anything. She's just like barking at people just for the sake of like getting that anxious energy out of her system. Like she just
Yeah.
needs to be like a yapping dog. Like, well, don't. Like,
I don't have time for your explanations. It's not
yeah,
important.
just don't do it. Don't stop everything
Oh,
you're doing.
gosh.
Imagine that being every function. Like, we've seen it once, and it was too much.
Yeah.
Lorelai had to live through it, like
Mhm.
birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, Thanksgiving, everything that involved company
Mhm.
would have been like that. Literally every day because she has staff. Every day would be some level of that.
She is, though, shut upable by a genuine compliment from Richard. Because again, she's fixing everything. She's fixing, controlling the way everything looks. She's ignoring pretty much everything that Richard has to say, any of his little comments or something. She's fixing his tie, everything, everything, everything. Until he says, "You look lovely tonight." And it just stops her in her tracks. And she, oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Rich.
Mm,
Like, isn't it?
it's so
It's so
sweet.
good. That's such a yeah. It's such a good moment for their relationship and for her character, and because it would just be so one tone if she was just yapping all the way through the scene. But just that
Yeah.
nice little moment of just pauses and great.
And the way that he says it, like, she's probably expecting him to be like, settle down, it'll be fine, relax, like, like, it's everything, like, we've got it, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that it's like a compliment and he's wanting to
Mm-hmm.
say something nice, I think it takes her by surprise. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, oh,
I wasn't even thinking about myself until now.
only
That's
Rory and
sweet.
what Rory wants, and heaven
Yes, of
forbid.
course.
And so this party is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Rory is again humiliated because her classmates are there. Paris is there. Tristan full on like accosts her.
He sucks.
Oh my
I hate
god,
him.
he's awful.
Where does
He's
he get off having that kind of like just that kind of attitude? He shows up fully expecting her to just be like, "Oh, welcome to my party and thanks for coming." And so
like
and he
swooning over
just
him.
yeah. Yeah. Um I was not expecting to meet someone from Lorelai's past.
Ah,
Mitzi?
Mitzi.
Mitzi, we meet recently divorced
Mm,
Mitzi, who remembers Lorelai as Scandal Girl.
mm. I haven't seen you
And
since your 7th month.
yeah, oh God. She reminded me of these people that you meet in your 30s who they've lived some life, they've had some experiences, and they are so vocal about trying to work on themselves, and acknowledging their behavior. And so she's describing how she's trying to discover where she's like jumping to conclusions and making assumptions and
Saying
talking too
rude
much
things.
or saying rude things. But she just keeps going.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've met people like this before because
Oh,
I
yeah.
certainly have.
I feel
Who
like
like
sometimes I am that person, but not with,
maybe
like, the
in small
saying rude
doses.
things.
No.
Like, with the, "This is what I'm doing to work on myself" bit.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you're also observant enough about yourself,
Mm,
self-aware
mm.
that this is what I'm doing, and I am currently doing that. I'm
Fair.
actively doing that. Whereas
Yes.
Mitzi is just totally concerned with talking about how she's improving without actually
Without actually
improving.
doing it. She's almost
Hmm.
using it as the, like, "No offense" line where it's like,
Yeah.
"I'm trying really hard not to say rude things, but have you heard from Christopher lately? How often do you talk to him? Like, are you
Oh my
married?"
god.
I'm trying
Just
really
so
hard not to be
prying. So
rude.
and she does the snapping fingers to one of
Oh
the staff.
my god. I know.
I stopped in my tracks. What? Oh my god. But
I
like
didn't
what a
even look
great
up.
bit of
She just,
direction.
like
Oh yeah. No. No. And she is one of the glimpses that we get in this whole scene of this world that Lorelai wants to get away from and has got away from. I'm glad that we do get such a sort of a shaking introduction into what this world was like and what her past was.
yeah, because we've seen the people who are much older, like, we've seen Emily's generation and Richard's generation,
Mhm.
but we haven't seen Lorelai's peers. We've seen, the Chilton kids, and so
Mhm.
getting a glimpse of how those teenagers grew up versus how
Mhm.
Lorelai grew up. I think that was a really fun kinda glimpse into what Lorelai was contending with at
Yeah.
school, and so Tristan is being a creep, Rory is upset right from the get-go, and then Emily wants Rory to go, like, talk to a group of her school kids that are in, the living room or whatever. They're like, "Who is that?" And they're like, "I think this is her party." Like, she just doesn't know who they are.
No, but
And
we don't even recognize them. We
nope,
get this
never
clips of
seen
like
them.
4 or 5 kids by the fireplace, and we're like, "Who the hell are they?"
And there's all
Oh,
these
dear.
old men giving her, like, envelopes of money, I'm assuming they're checks,
Uh,
and she's like, "Oh, who are you? This is just like a weird ritual of, like, you go
Yep.
to a party, you bring a check, you do shop talk with the men," and then Emily asks Rory to, like, give a speech to all these strangers on her birthday. Like, she's floored and
Mhm.
loses it. She
Mhm.
flips out, and even Lorelai's taken aback. It's just like, "Whoa, Rory, like, hold on, like, woo, something's happening." She flips out at Emily and then runs away to Lorelai's old bedroom. Can you imagine Lorelai living in that room?
It was insane. Well, I only can because of the Echo and the Bunnymen poster on the wall. That's the only that's the only glimpse that I can see there. What you mentioned earlier was like when you uh wondered about Lorelai not preparing Rory for something like this. Like, is it just an oversight of hers, do you think? Or like, because I really do wonder if she knows very well how these things go, how these parties go. Is it just that she had enough faith in Rory that like, Rory can handle it, it'll be fine? Or it seems like such an oversight of hers to just not tell her what to expect. Or maybe she was just so concerned with I'm getting along with my mother for a moment. What's going I don't it seems weird. Seems weird.
Yeah, I think she probably thinks that Rory can handle it.
Mm.
She also seems really surprised when Rory does tell her about the invitations. She's like, "Oh
Mhm.
man, you should have told me that she did that." So I don't know if she realized how far Emily was actually going to take it.
Right.
But if she wasn't going to invite all of her schoolmates, who was she going to invite? Like, what did they think that this party was going to be?
Mhm.
So I think it's possible that they don't know, they don't realize. But there's certainly an element of it that Lorelai knew, because when Emily in that scene that we just saw was getting ready, Lorelai comes in and is like, "Candles 6 inches apart," right? Like, she knows
Mhm.
exactly how these go down.
Mhm.
So, she definitely let Rory go in completely blind. Emily is
There's
humiliated.
yes. Yeah. There's
Rory is
so much
humiliated.
about this whole evening that Lorelai knows how it goes. She knows how the event is going to be. She knows, or seemingly knows, what the businessmen are going to be doing. They're going to be talking shop, and then they're going to like give you the envelopes mid sentence and be happy birthday Lorelai, blah blah blah, happy birthday Rory, blah blah blah. That's it. And she even knows how Emily is going to cool down. She tells Rory that like, it's fine, you'll apologize, she'll accept it, and she'll be over it. And then we'll move on. Which technically is what happens. Like Lorelai knows the routine, but it's 16 years later. It's different.
Yeah,
It's very different.
and I think it was a little bit different this time too, because Emily didn't expect that kind of reaction from Rory and didn't expect
Mm.
to be spoken to that way from Rory, whereas she expects it from Lorelai. I think it's easier for her to brush off Lorelai having a big reaction than it is
Mhm.
Rory having a big reaction, because we see, and this breaks my heart, Rory tries to apologize to Emily 3, I think it was 3 separate times, and
Yeah.
Emily just ices her out completely. She doesn't let her finish a sentence. She tells her to leave. She It's so immature and juvenile and hurtful and intentionally hurtful. Like, she's hurting, she's humiliated, but
Mhm.
it's your 16-year-old granddaughter. Let her
Emily speaks
apologize.
so much about manners and about, where are Rory's manners? Where are hers? Where are Emily's manners? Like,
Mhm.
you have a party full of people that you respect. You you don't have the good manner to, keep your cool or, be the bigger person. Maybe you can apologize. Maybe you can ask Rory, why are you upset? How can I whatever. Instead, she's so yeah. she's juvenile about it. She's so stubborn and pig-headed about it. And I just think it's well, we see again, like later on, she does not have the manners, but Rory, I think, really, really does. Even though
Yeah.
she has that unleashing moment, she's still, up until that moment, she's going along with it and okay. And she's dealing with all of these moments where she's very, very uncomfortable and unprepared, but she's pretty, she doesn't make a scene
No.
until she does. And then when she
Yeah.
does, she leaves. She takes herself out of the situation. It could have gone on a lot longer than that, but she takes herself out of it. That is good
Yeah.
manners. And yeah, the apology. She says, Grandma, I embarrassed you in front of your friends and I'm sorry. Just like you said, she apologizes and it goes nowhere.
No. And Emily, she has the wrong priorities. Like, she has such strong convictions and she stands by her convictions, but they're the wrong ones. Like, they're
Mhm.
not the ones that matter. And she thinks those are the things that matter because they matter to her, but they don't matter to like anybody else. So I have a clip here, and this is one of the most infuriating Emily moments for me because it just goes to show how skewed and backwards she is. Yep.
I'm a villain now, is that it? I spent a fortune on this party. I spent days planning it, making sure that every little detail was perfect. The food, the linen, the music. And I did all this for Rory.
Well, that's not what she needed, Mom. What she needs is for you to accept her apology and come to her party. That's what she needs, but you don't care what she needs.
And I
Mhm.
love that Lorelai told her to her straight because who cares how much money you spent on the party if you completely disregarded what they actually want from a party? Like that, the amount of money that you spend, the amount of time that you spend is irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. And that's the part that she's taking. She's like, well, I did this and I did that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but that's not what she asked for.
It
And
doesn't
that can't
mean
be your
anything
argument.
to the person who is your target.
And I feel like that happens so much in relationships, in friendships, in politics, even where, people are like, oh, well, I did this thing. And I was like, but that's not the thing we want. That's not the thing we
Mhm.
need. Like,
Mhm.
just where they're just not listening and they're not paying attention. And she's like, this is what I would want. So this is what I'm doing because that's what I would want someone to do for me or I would want to do for myself. And they get all, self-righteous about it when it's inappropriate for the situation.
It was neat to see Emily actually lose it. We haven't seen her really flustered and like really shout yet. So as difficult as a scene as that one is to watch, her full on shouting and arguing with Lorelai and then screaming at her staff because
That was awful. Yeah.
yeah, she's not she knows she's not actually screaming at her staff, but she is screaming at her staff, but she's not meaning to, but she is. But about the
Imagine being the
cheese.
staff just like, yeah, packing up cheese and they're like screaming at you and screaming at
Mhm.
each other and you're just like making eyes at the other staff like, "Oh my god."
Oh, Lorelai mentions again the pudding. Clearly, the pudding is weighing on her. Like it must be something subconscious. Like because she's reaching and grabbing onto something that might make things easier. Her mom serving pudding. I think she takes that as a sign that like mom's listening.
She's
She
coming
knows that
around. Yeah.
she knows that we like pudding and she'd only serve it to like as you mentioned an olive branch, just like a little moment of recognition in the form of pudding.
That would mean that she actually made a mental note that we liked pudding, which would mean she actually listened to something other than the judgmental conga line going on in her head and got over the fact that to her, pudding is hospital food and only acceptable when you've just had a vital organ ripped out of your body.
Wow, that's some she had to take there.
I don't think Emily even realized that. This is the part that is it just all in Lorelai's head? Because I feel like
don't
she's just
know.
looking for a sign. She's looking for some kind of a symbol or a message or some kind of a sign of reaching out. But I don't think it was an actual intentional choice of Emily's. I think it was just Lorelai reading into it and hoping.
I honestly don't know because Emily certainly approves the menu for the meals on Friday
Mhm.
night dinners. I don't think she would say, "Let's make pudding." Like, that just doesn't seem like something she would do, so maybe the cook was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make this pudding," and Emily didn't naysay it. Yeah, really imagine that being an unintentional choice from Emily,
I think we would have had more moments of her sort of acknowledging it, because Lorelai brings it up a few times. She brings up the pudding a few times, and every time she does, Emily's like, "What are you talking about? Why are you still talking about pudding?
Yeah.
There was nothing here." I mean,
I think
bless
Lorelai
Lorelai,
is
she's looking.
desperate for the knowledge that Emily is trying to relinquish some of the rule, the power, the not power, but to be less domineering of how exactly everything is going to go and not letting any bit of like who Rory and Lorelai actually are into the dynamic at all. Like she's
Yeah.
desperate to know that maybe she's changing
Mm-hmm.
because they're coming more often and they're trying to build that relationship. I don't know that that's what's happening. So I love this moment. So it's the following day, it's Saturday, Stars Hollow party coming up. Rory's going out to a Harvard or a college fair. And
Mm-hmm.
just on her way out the door, they're like getting ready for the party. And I just love this interaction with Rory and Lorelai so much.
I'll be back in plenty of time to help you decorate.
No, this is your party. You do not work. You lounge and mock those who are. Have I taught you nothing?
Sorry. I'll try to be better. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
I just love that where it's like, have I tell you nothing? She's like, sorry, I'll try to be better. Like, I'll try to be better
I'll
at
try.
lounging around and mocking people who are putting up decorations for me. Like, oh, sorry, mom. Like, complete opposite
A
contrast of how casual the relationship is.
And another contrast is in this following scene where we get a surprise, oh my goodness, a truce with Paris. Totally, I didn't see that coming at all. What the hell? I was calling her Laura. Lori, Lorelai.
Lorelai.
Rory
Yes.
at this college fair. She, of course, walks up to the Harvard table. There she encounters Paris, who
Paris.
stops her in her tracks. And, oh, big scary problem. They both want to go to Harvard. As if that's even a problem. Like, come on,
Right?
who cares?
Huge school.
But
Like,
they don't initially come to that. In straight off the bat, it's a wait a minute, but I'm going to Harvard. But you can't go to Harvard. But this is my dream. But my whole family has been to Harvard. Blah 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 blah. And so it takes them a little while to get past the initial like no competition until they can finally agree through communication and manners. They communicate better than the adults do.
yeah, they do.
They are, despite being instant enemies, they communicate. They have their manners that they're like, okay, you be your space and I'll be mine. You know, it's a big place. And if we see each other, what'll we do? We'll duck. Like,
Yep.
that's their agreement. There's no fighting, there's no yelling, no one gets horrible. And then Paris, bless her, just before she's able to leave, she has to know.
Are you dating Tristan?
Like, I don't know where the heck she ever would have thought that from, because like, if you were paying any attention, they do not get along, not even a little bit.
Right?
She doesn't like him, not even a little bit. But I'm glad that they actually get that out. So there's clarity from the get-go. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not interested. This is not a thing. So we
And
don't
she's
have to
like
have more time
revolted.
for it to
She's like,
fester. Ugh, no. Okay, fine. You know, you have fun with that crush of yours.
Yeah, and I feel like that takes a huge layer of competition out of the equation
Yeah.
because it gives Paris like a huge sense of relief that there's like one less thing that she's going to have to fight Rory for. And
Mhm.
then she even says like, "Hey, that was a nice party." And
Yeah.
it wasn't, for the record. Like, does Paris not pay attention to anything?
But that's manners. That's
Yeah.
the kind of manners that Emily would approve of, I think.
Yeah, well, they were raised from that kind of stock.
But at the Lorelai's house.
Oh my gosh, such a fun party. So I don't think we actually said this, but part of Rory's apology to Emily was inviting them to the birthday party at her house, which is so sweet. Like after having had a party like that, I would have been probably really embarrassed and needed more time to cool off. And the fact that she right away is just like, come to my other birthday party. Like she still loves them. She still wants them around. She doesn't like fault her or like resent her or begrudge Emily for like throwing this kind of party because that's just who she is. And she loves her for who she is. And so she wants them to be involved and come to her birthday party, which is still very sweet. I don't think I would do that. personally.
Nope, I would just be like, I don't really want to see you for another couple of weeks
Yeah,
if I don't
see you
have to.
next Friday because I have to.
Mhm.
And so she invites them to her birthday and they show up. They actually show up and right
Despite
away.
initially turning her down.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, "We have
She
plans." Like,
very
so
cold.
heartbreaking. She's like, "No, no, absolutely not." Like, she's just so snobby. They walk in, and at first they're like ringing the doorbell. And Lorelai's like, "Who's ringing the doorbell? This is a party. Get your ass in here." And then they walk in, and it's Richard and Emily, and it's like, room goes silent.
Can I point out here, the top that Lorelai is wearing? Our YouTube viewers will be able to see this top that I am currently wearing, which is from the same line, the same brand, Custo Barcelona. This is
Oh,
a brand that shows up fairly often on Lorelai, as well as on Willow Rosenberg in the Buffy series.
cute.
Lorelai is wearing a Custo Barcelona. I don't know if she's got the fuzzy sleeves like I have, but she has a little V-neck, short V-neck leopard print, furry leopard print collar. Seeing this in this episode just made me so happy because there's a little clip is in the opening sequence, and I was like, oh, there's a shirt, there's a shirt. So naturally, I had to wear mine today.
I love that. I love that so much. We're actually going to see the shirt just a little bit in this clip here. So they come in super awkward, and immediately you've got Miss Patty coming in and breaking the ice and
Yes.
breaking the tension. And she is gunning for Richard. She is having a blast.
God, you're a tall specimen of a man. Must be all that good air in Hartford.
Mom, Dad, can I get
And that's all that I wanted to put, just the way that she's like, in Hartford. That's like weird, like breathy. And she's like, you're a tall specimen of a man. Even just calling him a specimen makes it somehow like you want to grab at it. Like, I don't know.
It it's a different kind of maybe not manners, but a different kind of welcoming. Like, well, manners. If you want to talk about manners and being a good hostess, Rory is a magnificent hostess. Just in the first moments of them being there, straight away she's up, she's over. Oh, Grandma, Grandpa, thank you so much for coming to my party. And look, I'm wearing the bracelet that you got me. I'm so glad you're here. And like, this is everybody. Everybody, these are my grandparents. Like, straight away, boom, boom. When she's in her natural space, she's a brilliant hostess and she's comfortable. And I'm hoping that Emily in particular can see just how wonderful and charming a granddaughter she has. Like,
Right?
this
And
is
then
what
none of that.
this is what she could have done. You can't put her on the spot and expect her to talk to a room full of strangers. But if she is introducing people that she loves and respects to a group of people that she loves and respects, she can do it beautifully. It's so, so, so good. And then, of
Yeah.
course, supplemented further by Miss Patty and her just
Yeah.
brilliant, like, I'm just gonna ooze compliments for you. And wow, it's just such a shining, tall specimen of a man. And yeah, it's compliments. She's complimentary, but
Yep.
maybe not quite as well mannered as Emily would expect.
And it's like, I'm just still so mad about Emily being like, your daughter has no manners, and your daughter, like this entire time, it's been my granddaughter's birthday, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, she doesn't like what she's saying. So she's like, your daughter is being like you, blah, blah, blah. Rory is the kindest, sweetest, most polite teenager on the face of the planet ever. And the fact
Mhm.
that suddenly she's like attacking her character, which like it's just fully untrue. And I hate that. I hate it so much. What I do like about Emily is that as much as they show up and they're initially seeming very uncomfortable, she doesn't hold back on praising Lorelai's party at all. So
Agreed.
she gets
Yes.
right into like I feel like just based on how petty both of them are. I'm always surprised when they're not being petty. And so this is amazing.
I just tried some of those hors d'oeuvres. They're unbelievable. Who is your caterer?
Suki?
What's a Suki?
That's a Suki.
Hi, Suki St. James.
I love it. The fact that she was like not just like, oh, the food's really good, but I'm not gonna tell her because I'm angry about the party or whatever, like, she's just
She
open
comes
and
in with
allowing herself.
energy. Yeah,
Suki,
so
just
sweet.
bathing. I'm Suki.
And she goes on to like practically try to offer Suki a job.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Totally ignoring that she has a job. She has a full-time job. She works
At
at
the
the
inn.
inn. All of my friends, they'll want to hire you and you'll be booked in till Christmas or whatever.
Mhm. Remember, I discovered you. It's
Yeah,
like, I don't
exactly.
need discovering. I have a job. Like, I've been discovered. I've been reviewed, like, by this critic. Like, and I adore Richard coming in and like inspecting the house. Like, oh, this chimney doesn't seem structurally sound. Like first of all, Richard is not a man who does manual labor. I don't know if he knows what a structurally sound chimney looks like.
No, but he comes in and he this party is such a success because it allows everyone to sort of socialize as much or as little as they want to or need to. There's a bedroom that they can go off to. There's the porch that Richard eventually takes to with reading matter.
Mhm.
Rory, of course, being the brilliant hostess, comes out and brings him a magazine. Like, okay, maybe Richard is not the kind who's like totally gung ho to sit with a bunch of chatty strangers and whatever. Which fair enough, he doesn't have to be, but he doesn't make it anyone's problem. He finds for himself, he finds some comfortable space for him to still be present, but I'm gonna scoot out onto the patio instead.
And then we learn that that's the first time that her parents have ever been to that house, ever.
Right.
And that's a huge deal because they've been living here, like, for over 10 years, like, at
Mm-hmm.
least. So they were saying, or Lorelai mentioned how I guess they lived at the inn for the first couple of years when Rory was a baby, and then they've moved into that house after that, and they've never been there. So this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then we really get to the part where it's also heartbreaking in a different way because Emily is realizing how much of her daughter's life that she's missed out on. She has no idea what's happened in her life. At one point, Lorelai broke her leg and she had no idea. And Lorelai says, Mom, if I'd been really sick, you would have known. But like a cast, that's like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of somebody's life. Like not knowing
Mm-hmm.
that something like that happened, where like a mom instinctually, like, my instinct would wanna be like, "I need to be there for her, I need to help her, I need to make her meals so that she doesn't have to stand up and cook. Like, I need to take care of my injured baby,"
Mm-hmm.
and she had no idea that any of this stuff happened. Like, she's learning that Rory did ballet. She is meeting
She's
Luke.
getting these wonderful, warm stories from people who really know Lorelai and Rory, and they're sharing their stories like friends and kind people do. And it's such a it's a little bit heartbreaking. Of they're sitting in the living room around the coffee table and exchanging these stories and remembering when Rory was 10 years old and the fairy ring. She thought this ring of mushrooms looked like a fairy or something. Um, and Emily's just in the armchair. She's there listening. And then she reaches a point where she's just had enough. And so she leaves without making a big deal. She leaves and goes upstairs and and arrives in Lorelai's bedroom. And she is now in Lorelai's most private and personal space. And she sees all of these things from a life that she doesn't know anything about. They're such hugely important years and that make a person from age 16. I guess she left when she was 16 because that was her last birthday party. Yeah, her last birthday in Emily and Richard's house was her 16th birthday. And like again, they know things about each other. Because yeah, you mentioned Luke arriving, the Iceman.
Yes, man.
And he gets a great big embrace almost from Lorelai, and Emily witnesses this, and she picks up on Lorelai's expressions. She's got a big
Mhm,
smile on her face, and she's giggling, and so Emily knows her daughter's behavior in a
mhm,
way,
mhm.
but she doesn't know her daughter. There's so
Yep.
much that she doesn't know, and it's such a weird to know somebody so well, but also not. It's wild.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really hard to reconcile because
Mm.
you think you know them because you raised them and you were there for like so much of their lives, and like I said before, like their character, their personality, but you don't know the details. And it's just so weird. That would be really
Mhm.
hard to it would be so dissociated. Like, I don't know, but I have a clip here of I think this is one of my favorite clips from the show, like at large.
Mhm.
Because I just this interaction between Lorelai and Emily about Luke.
And with the ice.
Luke.
How long have you been seeing him?
Luke? I'm not seeing Luke. He's just a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I swear. Luke keeps me in coffee. Nothing else.
He seems to like you.
And you're judging this by what?
By the way he looked at you.
Which was how?
Like you were about to give him a lap dance.
Mom, he did not look at me like that.
You're pleased.
What?
You smiled. You're pleased that the Iceman looked at you like a porterhouse steak.
I'm smiling because you're crazy.
No, you're smiling because you love it.
Yeah, because he looked at you like a porterhouse steak.
That's such a you line. Oh my gosh.
I know, I love it. I love it so much.
I have to say, when Luke arrives and he's like holding the bags of ice, and he very quickly gets introduced to Emily. Instead of saying like, "Hi, hello, good evening," he says, "How do you do?" Like, okay, little formal Luke put on here.
The American charm.
Mhm,
Country
mhm.
boy, ma'am.
At the end of that scene of Lorelai and Emily in Lorelai's bedroom, there are just about tears in Lorelai's eyes. They're so glassy and shiny, and like, God, what a thing! What a thing to have her in your bedroom, and you're talking at that. You're actually they're for one, they're not screaming. The
Yeah.
previous scene where it was just the two of well, not just the two of them, but when it was the two of them in a room together, they were screaming at each other. And now they're actually talking, maybe like mother and daughter. They're talking about personal things and about knowing each other and some really sentimental things.
And
Great scene.
Emily could easily be approaching not knowing these things with anger and hostility and resentment, but
Mhm,
she's seems genuinely curious about Luke. Like, she's not just
mhm.
like, "Well, why haven't you told me that you're dating this guy?" Like, she's like, "Oh, there's a man." Like, she's happy
Because
and
it's
pleased.
sinking, yeah, and it's sinking in that like this is all stuff that she doesn't know, but whose fault is that?
Mhm. And she has a whole life outside of Friday night dinners, like an entire town
Mhm,
full of people who know her, who interact with her on a daily basis, who actually
mhm,
are involved in the real way, not the staged formal, we are set up at dinner and have to have a chat and then we leave.
mhm.
And she's not part of it at all. And yeah, when they get back in the car after the party, she's gutted. She's devastated. As I would be. Yeah.
Yeah, outright says, "I don't know my daughter at all."
Mhm.
But then we get this great scene to wrap it up.
We have our dear friend Richard, who's been reading Cosmopolitan magazine on the porch. Rory brought it to him saying outright, like, I think, like, I know this isn't the Wall Street Journal, but here you go. And it's
Mhm.
Cosmo, and he's doing a quiz to find out what season he is.
Lovely party. I enjoyed the reading material immensely.
So what's the verdict?
I am an autumn,
Interesting.
isn't it?
It's so genuine. Like, he's not
Mhm.
teasing her. He's
No.
like, wow, this is very interesting.
Again, there's manners.
Yeah.
Manners and politeness. Like I think he starts that by saying like a very enjoyable, very pleasant party. He
Mhm.
had a good time, and he says so. He enjoys the reading material. Thank you. And he's making it work for him. I think the only person who has not displayed good manners this entire episode really is Emily, who's the only one that goes on and on about manner.
Tristan.
And Tristan, of course. Well,
Whatever.
oh.
That does not wrap up Rory's birthdays because the very, very last scene,
Mhm.
Lorelai's doing dishes and looks out the window. And then she sees Rory and Dean having like a secret little interlude where Rory thanks him for his like discretion, basically, of like, thanks for meeting me like this. And she doesn't want to be really public with her her crush on Dean yet, and he gives her a birthday present, and they're like, "It's better this way." But Lorelai sees the whole thing, and you see that she's gutted.
Oh,
This is
visibly
happening.
just stunned and like, whoa, this is something major about my daughter that she has kept totally silent about from me.
Yeah, and, like, Lorelai, like, steps away from the window, but she can't pull herself away, like, she's watching, and then she's like, "What is happening right now?" And you could tell that she's just like, this is planned." He knows it's her birthday, he's brought her a gift, like, they have a relationship going, they have, like, a budding relationship,
They hold hands.
and she's
I
like, "Who is
gasped.
this? Like,
Who is
what is
this guy? I've never seen
happening?
him before.
He's at
Mhm.
my house talking to my kid? Like, what's happening?"
Rory's got a smile on her face. She's got a bracelet on her wrist now, like on her other wrist. And yeah, and they're holding hands. How sweet, how slow they took that.
Yeah.
Like he's got his hand near hers, he's tying up the bracelet, and he just sort of tests it, and then they link fingers and they link hands, and it's okay. They've got such a matched pace with each other, and
Mhm. I love the
I'm
contrast
intrigued
of,
to see where
like,
this goes.
Dean's respectful approach versus Tristan's, like, insane
Oh my god.
arrogant
What does
approach.
he want? What
I
does
know,
he
it's weird.
want? This is
He doesn't
I
wanna date
don't
her, so, like, what is this? He's like,
power
I'm in
trip.
love with you, Rory." Like, you know that he's lying. Why is he lying? Like, what is the point? Ugh.
Don't know.
But Dean is so sweet, and some guys, would be like, "I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't wanna like, why won't you invite me to your birthday party? I thought you liked me." Like, some guys would be defensive
Oh,
and
definitely.
and defended and all of that stuff, and he's rolling with it. He's like, "Okay, she's nice, and this is what she wants, and that's okay." And I made her a bracelet with my own 2 hands. I drilled a hole in this medallion, cut some leather, like, he makes it seem so casual. You're like, "Dude, you made her a bracelet, boy." Like, I don't fully remember how this goes, but, like, just knowing how Lorelai handles things with Rory when they're not going exactly how she expects it to. I don't remember the transition and, like, how things happen, but, like, that Lorelai is not necessarily gonna handle that well, witnessing that scene.
She's already said several times, like, "But you tell me everything.
Mhm.
We talk about everything together. Why didn't you tell me? You should have told me this. Why didn't you tell your mom? You could have told me."
Yeah, I don't think she's used to, like, the teenage level of privacy that is
Mm-mm.
perfectly natural, and Rory is just being a normal teen. She's actually not. There'd be a lot more secrecy and fighting and drama, I'm sure, if she was a
Oh,
normal
very
teen.
probably, yes.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's us.
That's us. We have been the Belladonna Watch Club. Thanks so much for joining us this week. As always, you can find us on YouTube on Thursdays and listen in wherever you stream your podcasts.
Bye-bye.
Bye.